As cross-border financial planners, the first thing that we do when families come to us is help them understand what benefits do they qualify for, how much are they going to receive in both US and Canadian cross-border benefits, and when's the best time to turn those benefits on. Today, we're going to talk about what benefits you may qualify for as a cross-border retiree and how large those benefits may be. My name is Brian Haggard. I'm a certified financial planner, chartered financial analyst, and I'm the founder of RetireMitten Financial. We help simplify your cross-border retirement plan. And for most of our clients, the biggest benefits that they're going to receive in retirement is going to be from their US Social Security, their Canada pension plan, and their Canadian old age supplement. Yet so many people, when they first come to us, have no idea what benefits they qualify for and how much they're going to receive in retirement. Today, we're going to go through a family situation who's lived and worked in both the US and Canada for 20 years. We're going to talk about how much they may get from Social Security, Canada Pension Plan, and OAS, what benefits they qualify for. And we're also going to talk about how the recent elimination of WEP, how that helps their US Social Security benefits. Now, let's start talking about what benefits do you qualify as a cross-border retiree? And first of all, we're going to talk about the US benefit. Almost everybody here has heard about Social Security. Social Security you can turn on as early as age 62. The government says that your full retirement age is somewhere between 66 and 67, depending on when you were born, and you can delay and grow your Social Security benefit all the way up until age 70. Now, where people get confused a lot on Social Security is if they qualify or not. A lot of people feel like they have to have worked in the US for 10 full years to qualify for Social Security. And that is the case if you've only worked in the US and not Canada. However, if you've combined work experience in the US and Canada, as long as you've worked in the US for at least a year and a half, if you've worked in Canada for the other 8.5 years at least, you will qualify for a Social Security benefit, although it may be relatively small, as your Social Security benefit is based on how long you lived, how long you worked in the US, and how much you earned. Spouses of somebody who's also worked in the US will also potentially be eligible for a Social Security benefit, even if you've never worked a day in your life in the United States. In Canada, there's typically two benefits that you're going to qualify for. There's the CPP or the Canada Pension Plan. Canada Pension Plan is really easy to qualify for. As long as you've worked in Canada for at least a year, you would have paid into your CPP and therefore you're eligible for a CPP benefit. It works a lot like US Social Security. You also may be eligible for an OAS benefit or the Canadian Old Age Supplement. Now, it's a little bit different. The OAS is not based on work at all, it's based on residency. And this is where a lot of people get confused. A lot of times the expectation is you only qualify for OAS if you've worked or if you've lived in Canada for 20 years after the age of 18. But that is not correct. You can actually use the US and Canada totalization agreement to help you easily qualify for your OAS benefit. As long as your Canadian residency after the age of 18 plus years that you've worked in the US exceed 20 years, then you'll be eligible for a Canadian OAS benefit as well. Let's go through and look at how much a typical couple may receive from all of these different benefits. So we're going to look at a somewhat typical couple that we run into here in the States. Obviously, everybody is different, but we're going to at least look at an example of a couple so you get an idea of how much you may get from these different benefits. So we're looking at Mike and Sandy. So Mike and Sandy both lived in Canada for 20 years after the age of 18. They both made about $50,000 in Canadian dollars and contributed to their Canada pension plan while they were living and working in Canada. Now, they moved down to the States because of Mike's work, and Mike continued to work in the States for another 20 years, earning $100,000 per year, while Sandy didn't work as much here in the States. She worked minimally, but didn't really qualify for much of a Social Security benefit at all. Today, we're going to talk about how much they're going to get from the US and Canada. So we talked a little about Canada Pension Plan already. And as I mentioned before, it's pretty easy to qualify for a CPP benefit. As long as you paid into CPP, you're eligible for a benefit. In 2025, the maximum benefit, if you turn on your CPP at age 65, is about 1,400 Canadian per month. However, that's based on the best 40 years of earnings. Most of our clients have not lived and worked in Canada for the full 40 years. They moved down to the States at some point and worked here. And so you may also be eligible for an additional benefit if you were living in Canada and taking care of kids in Canada and therefore either had to work less or didn't work at all. So the example that we looked at together was that Mike and Sandy had lived in Canada and paid into CPP for 20 years, and they earned about $50,000 Canadian per year. This would make them eligible for about half of what the total CPP benefit is in 2025, $717 per month per person. And if we translate that into US dollars, they get a little over $500 per month per person, or about $1,032 per month as a couple. The next benefit that most people are eligible for is the OAS or Old Age Security Benefit. The maximum benefit in age 65 in 2025 is 740 Canadian per month. Now, again, like CPP, this assumes that you're a resident of Canada for 40 years after the age of 18 to get that maximum benefit. Most of our clients, as we mentioned before, have moved to the US prior to those 40 years, so they'll only get a partial benefit. How the math works, at least here in 2025, is that for every year that you lived in Canada after the age of 18, you would get $18.50 per month in your OAS benefit. Now, looking at Mike and Sandy, as we talked about, they were Canadian residents for 20 years after the age of 18 before moving back to the States. Therefore, they're eligible for half of the maximum OAS benefit of $740 per month. So both Mike and Sandy would get 370 Canadian per month for a total of $740 Canadian, which translates to $532 US in today's exchange rate. Now, one of the questions that we get a lot is, Brian, does this money get deposited in US? Does it get deposited in Canada? This money can be deposited wherever you want. A lot of our clients, because they are living here in the States, we recommend having that money deposited into the States, but you don't have to have that money deposited in the States. You could have it deposited up in Canada instead. Now let's look at US Social Security. For almost all of our clients, the US Social Security benefit is the largest retirement income source they're going to have. It tends to be much bigger than their Canadian benefits. Now, US Social Security is based on earnings and years worked. Your full retirement age is typically at 67 for most people now. And when I do the math, when I go to Social Security's website and put it in their calculator, $100,000 per year for 20 years, it spits out and tells me at full retirement age, a person's benefit would currently be $2,700 per month. Now, WEP is eliminated. The windfall elimination provision was eliminated at the beginning of 2025, which has helped increase a lot of people's benefits when they also lived in Canada. We're going to talk about how much that is in just a moment here. The other nice thing about Social Security is a lot of people are surprised in just how large the spousal benefit is. You may never have worked a day in your life here in the United States, but still be eligible for a spousal Social Security benefit. That spousal Social Security benefit is half of what the worker's full retirement age benefit is if both people turn on their benefits at full retirement age. So it's a really incredible benefit that a lot of people just are not used to and don't put into the retirement plan until we start to talk to them. So, as we just discussed, Mike had worked here for 20 years, earning $100,000 a year. And from the Social Security website, we know that means that he would earn about a $2,700 per month Social Security benefit at full retirement age, at age 67 in his case. And as we talked about, Sandy didn't really work a lot here in the United States. She moved down here. Maybe it was hard for her to get documentation to work. Maybe she was taking care of the kids, whatever the case may be. But she's still eligible for a spousal Social Security benefit of half of Mike's benefit. Again, as long as they both turn their benefits on at full retirement age. So if Mike's benefit is $2,700 at full retirement age, Sandy's benefit would be half of that, or $1,350 per month, for a total benefit of over $4,000 per month in Social Security benefits for the two of them. As you can see, those benefits are much higher than those Canadian benefits that they qualify for. So let's go through and talk about what does this mean when we put it all together. So, as we've discussed, we went through Mike and Sandy's situation and we talked about a normal couple that has worked in the US and Canada for 20 years each, earning $50,000 a year in Canada, $100,000 in US. And what does that ultimately mean here in overall benefits when they retire? So, they will get a little over $1,000 a month US from their Canada pension plan. They'll get over $500 per month in their old age supplement, and finally over $4,000 per month as a couple in US Social Security benefits. If we add those all up at age 67, this couple would be earning over $5,600 per month in benefits from the US and Canada. For most people, when we go through this exercise with them, they're shocked to find out just how much money they're going to have coming into them on a month to month basis. For a lot of people, this really changes their retirement plans. For people, they might have thought that they were going to continue to work and build up their savings, build up their retirement income. And when we go through this plan with a lot of people, they realize they're able to or feel comfortable retiring earlier than what they had expected. Now, I wanted to bring up one last point because we get this question pretty often. Earlier this year, 2025, the windfall elimination provision was eliminated. The windfall elimination provision reduced your US Social Security benefits if you had less than 30 years of US work and you also collected a pension from a foreign government like Canada. In this example, they would have lost out on half of their Canada pension plan, which would have been a $258 reduction for Mike, which would have then turned into a $129 reduction on Sandy's spousal benefit. Overall, the elimination of the windfall elimination provision has resulted in almost $400 per month in more benefits, nearly $5,000 a year in benefits for this couple. It is incredibly substantial for a lot of people. It has made a big deal in their retirement. Post-board retirement planning can be very confusing, and that's what we're here to help with. We help put together your retirement income plan, figure out what benefits you qualify for, how much you're going to receive, and when's the best time to turn on these benefits. Not to mention, we talk about what's the best way to start drawing down your Canadian assets as well as your US assets. Schedule a complimentary consultation in the link below, and we can just start to put together a retirement plan for you. Thanks, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.